It's the month of October, and we're in your ears.
Podcast with Mormons about all of your fears.
Get ready to leave all your lights on tonight.
These Mormon ghost stories will fill you with fright. This is the podcast where we drink with the Mormons, strange and peculiar people they may be. Come hear the stories we were taught in our childhood. Come drink and join our eternal family. Come drink and join our eternal family.
Welcome! Welcome back!
To the Drunk Mormon Podcast, Halloween edition. This is the podcast where we get drunk and talk about people who never get drunk.
The Mormon.
I'm David John Banks, and I was raised Mormon.
I'm Lauren Sackwich, and I've never been Mormon a day in my life.
And we are your hosts. And welcome to our very special Halloween episode of the show. This is our first Halloween as a podcast. We are excited.
Thrilled.
We're dressed up.
Yeah, we are dressed up. You can't see it because this is a podcast, but we are dressed to the nines.
Yeah, we'll come back to that, I'm sure. Each week on this podcast, we teach Lauren a little bit more about Mormonism, whether it's stories from the Book of Mormon, stories from Mormon church history, or peculiar things that Mormons believe. But this week, we're going to kind of float a little free, like
Love
Casper, because it's Halloween. And you know what I love?
What?
A good old-fashioned ghost story.
Ooh, yay!
So for our Halloween special, we're just going to tell a whole bunch of Mormon ghost stories, whether they're ghost stories that happened in like Mormon history or just, you know, ghost stories that happened to people who happen to be Mormon.
Got it. Okay.
Before we do that, we have actually a bit of business.
We do have some business.
We have some business.
So today we are recording in a studio because we are doing a special Halloween photo shoot.
That's true. That's why we're wearing costumes.
We're wearing costumes, and we're not going to tell you what we're dressed up as. We're gonna release the photos on Halloween.
Which is in 2-3 days?
Yeah, it's coming
No
up.
way.
Yeah.
From when this comes out.
Oh, okay. I was like, whoa.
So follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter to see what the Drunk Mormon podcast family is being for Halloween.
Oh, so excited.
Exciting.
Let's just start off with a good old-fashioned correction clarification.
Oh, God.
Back in the gay episode. So this
isn't my problem.
Not your fault.
Okay, yeah.
Because you weren't there.
You know what? Let's start with a good old-fashioned correction.
So in our gay episode, we talked about how the Mormon Tabernacle Choir director, Evan Stevens, took the Mormon Tabernacle Choir to the Chicago World's Fair. I said in 1939. This isn't true.
No.
It was in 1893.
That's very different.
And Sully was like, is that the same year that H.H. Holmes, the serial killer, was running his, like, serial killer hotel? And I was like, I don't know. Well, you know what? If we had said the date right, we might have been able to figure out that, yes, it was the exact same World's Fair. So the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, led by a drag queen, at the same World's Fair where H.H. Holmes was snatching people.
Oh, my God. I'm so
killing
glad
them.
they didn't die.
Yeah, luckily they must have stayed in a different hotel.
They were probably protected by God.
Probably. Also, speaking of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, we should tell you, Lauren, that a few weeks ago, they changed the name of the choir.
We're talking from its inception. It's been known as the Mormon Tabernacle Choir for 100 years or so.
Over.
We just saw them.
So
What are they now?
they just was it the prophet? So the prophet decided and just finally told everybody this month, I think, that he doesn't want anybody calling themselves Mormons anymore. They shouldn't call themselves Mormons. They shouldn't call them LDS.
What are we supposed to call
And
ourselves?
so they're supposed to call the church either the full fucking name, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or if you have to shorten it, you can say the Church of Jesus Christ. Now, important note, according to the lyrics of the song 2x2 in the Book of Mormon musical,
yeah.
those lyrics are still correct. they refer to the church as the full name, or the one time they kind of shorten it, it's the Church of Jesus Christ.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So they had
That's
the
like a
prophecy
mouthful.
Yeah, so they already knew. They had it figured out.
So is it?
Or the actual
Those
church
guys are
wanted to make
smart.
sure that it was in
It
line.
matched.
Right.
They wanted it to
So
match.
is it the?
So now it's not the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, it's called the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square.
Oh, I actually kind of like that better, to be
Okay.
honest.
It-
The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square.
Yeah.
I feel like
So
it sounds like
instead of-
prominent.
Anyway,
Here's what I want to know though: have they updated their uniforms?
no.
Because those were very tragic.
So not only do we need to sort of like clarify, correct these things and fill you in on these huge important revelations from God.
Yeah.
But also
He's rebranding.
he's rebranding.
God's rebranding.
God's rebranding. Also, this brings a really important question to our table, which is our podcast name uses
Oh,
the
it's
word
wrong
Mormon.
now.
Now we're the Drunk Mormon Podcast. So should we change it to the
No.
Drunk Church of Jesus Christ Podcast?
Here's the thing: there's no way in hell I'm gonna remember that when I'm drunk.
That's
No
fair.
way in hell.
So I want to put forward the motion, official business.
Mm-hmm.
We're inviting our listeners in to watch. And I would just want to suggest that we vote to maintain the podcast name as it stands, regardless of what revelation the prophet may or may not have received from God. All in favor? You can
Aye.
manifest by the right hand.
I.
Raising the
The
right hand.
funniest part about that you guys can't see is Lauren did it right and I did it wrong.
Yeah.
Any opposed?
It's unanimous.
Fantastic. So that's a thing that they do in church sometimes.
It's true.
If someone gets a new calling, they'll go up in front on Sunday during church and they'll say, "Hey, we're extending this calling to so and so. Does everyone sustain it?" And everyone raises their hand. in
What?
unison. And then they say, "Anybody opposed?" And almost never does someone oppose. And if they do oppose, it's usually real good drama.
Ooh.
Really good drama.
So we'll come back to that, I'm sure, with some anecdotes another time. Right now, we have to keep this train a moving because it's Halloween.
We
and
have
we're gonna
places
turn
to
into
go.
pumpkins.
It's true.
I think it's also really important. There was we did our big gay episode, and one thing we didn't really talk about is it might have been worth coming out and saying, "Oh, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, the Mormon Church and gay people just don't get along."
Yeah.
We'll actually have a really great episode coming down the pike that's going to go into that a lot more specifically. But just let it be said, for the record, the Mormon Church mistreats people who are LGBTQIA. And there's so much to say about that we decided to start slowly by talking about some fun history. But I also don't want people to be misled and think that it's a charming relationship, because it very much is not. Happy Halloween. And hopefully by now, everyone who had subscribed to our Patreon by October 1st
Got our cards.
got our cards that we sent them.
Yes. Right in. I want to know who got
I
that
haven't heard
pumpkin.
from anyone yet, so I don't
want to
know.
know. I made a great pumpkin.
I want to hear too, and I want to see if people like the perfume.
If they can still smell it, if it survived. So yeah, we're a fun podcast, and we have fun times with Patreon. So if you want to jump on our Patreon, here's a little holiday self-promotion. We'll mail you fun things, and you can also see things like Goldie Plate's drag performances there before anybody else. But other than that, I feel like that's as much business as I can handle on a holiday. We're here to celebrate. So the one way I know to do that is to break out some alcohol.
Woo!
The best way.
So, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the cocktail of the week. It's called a Gravedigger.
Ooh.
On theme.
How appropriate.
It's made out of 3 ingredients, really easy. 1, bourbon.
Love it.
2, hard apple cider. And 3, ginger ale to top it off.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. So I was Googling for a fun, spooky cocktail, and I found this one on a website called Boulder Locavore. We'll put a link in our show notes. But very, very,
Oh my
very
God,
easy.
How fun.
So to break those down into proportions, that's going to be 2 ounces of cider, 1 ounce of whiskey in a glass full of ice, and then you just fill the rest up with ginger ale.
Oh, how fun.
So it's fun, it's spooky, it's sort of autumnal in its flavor palette.
Ooh.
Okay, so here's one for me. And one for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I haven't actually tried this yet, so I don't know what it's going to taste like.
Okay.
But let's give it a go.
We need a good, like, Halloween, October cheers.
Something spooky?
Yeah.
Boo.
Boo! Oh, okay.
Okay. No, it's good.
It is really good. It's like sweeter than I kind of thought it would be.
Which makes sense because we put
there's
there's cider
yeah.
in there.
I like it.
I like it too.
It's very autumnal. You know what would be good in this? A cinnamon stick.
Oh my god. Let's just get fucking drunk.
Yeah! Cheers!
Lauren, have you ever seen a ghost?
I've never seen a ghost, but I was a part of somebody else's ghost story.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So it was in college, and we were doing this play called The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. And so, like, which is, like, very much, like, Jesus-y and, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Sounds
was...
super pro-Jesus.
Sounds super pro-Jesus. But we had this, like, community theater stage that was in what used to be a bank. And all of us decided we were gonna, like, sleep over in the theater one night. So we're sleeping in the theater, and there's, like, the main stage and then this platform off to the side that we called the Judas platform. And I'm, like, sleeping there. I'm on the outside, and then it's my friend. I totally forget his name now. The guy who played Judas, and then his boyfriend behind him. And I'm asleep, but he wakes up and, like, looks kind of over me to the main stage and sees this suitcase. And he's like, why did Lauren not put her props away? Like, what the fuck? How unprofessional. And then slowly he realizes that it doesn't look like my suitcase. And he, like, sits up a little bit more and looks over, and there's a foot, like, tapping next to the suitcase, and it's, like, attached to this guy who's in, like, a 3-piece suit, like an old-timey bank teller. And he goes to, like, scream, and the guy goes shh, shh, and then points to me and goes, she's sleeping.
Oh my god.
And I was like, what did you do? And he goes, I rolled over, grabbed my boyfriend, and said Hail Marys until I fell asleep. I was like, you just left me?
Oh my god.
Like, you didn't point at your boyfriend, you pointed at me.
The scariest thing in the world to me is when a ghost sees you back. Like, I can't.
Really?
Yeah, I just can't handle it.
I guess I don't really know how ghosts work.
I don't either.
I assume they can always see you.
I don't know.
Ashley, have you ever seen a ghost?
I have seen a ghost.
No.
Tell us.
I'm going to tell you this story. This is actually true.
Okay.
Okay, so I had to have been, like, 6. Like, I had to have been really, really, really little.
Uh-huh.
And the way that our house is my parents built several levels after the 2 levels were built. So we're talking years later. And they created, like, they built a big room in the basement. And that's where me and my 2 other sisters slept.
Okay.
And so we slept in the basement, and so you had to go downstairs, which were a part of our bedroom.
Okay.
And so you had the 3 beds, and in the middle bed, which was my older sister's bed, there was a mirror in front of it, because there were all of our dressers, and there was just the one mirror. And one day,
I'm already like,
And one day, it was in the morning. We were getting ready for school. My sisters were already out of the room. I was just sitting on the edge of the bed, looking into the mirror. And you can see in the mirror, like, to the right, you can see the stairs coming down, right? Because it's a big room. And the stairs were kind of covered halfway with a wall. So you see half the stairs, the other half are, like, behind a wall. So I look over, and I did this all the time. Like, I was getting ready for bed, or I was getting ready, I was, like, brushing my hair or something.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I look in the mirror, and I see on the stairwell a man's face.
No.
Oh my
That's
God.
serious.
What do you
And
look like?
I think any Mormon will understand when I say he looked like Judas from the Lamb of God.
Oh my god.
What does that mean?
It's a
Put a pin in
movie.
that.
Yeah.
And so as a 6-year-old, and so, I mean, you know the story with Judas and Jesus and all that. So
Yeah.
my mind had just created like, oh, this must be an evil presence.
Yeah.
And I just like lost it. I like just started crying. And I finally got the guts because I had to pass that area to get upstairs. So I was like trapped in the room. And so finally I got enough guts that I ran upstairs and I found my mom and I just started bawling and bawling and bawling. And I don't even remember if I told her, like I don't really have any memory after that. But I remember I've talked to my sisters multiple times about it and they just remember me crying and crying and crying. And it's so vivid.
Ooh.
Like I'm actually getting emotional thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like it was so scary.
Oh.
That's my story.
Did you ever go back down there?
Yeah, that's where we slept.
Oh
And
my God.
and we ended up moving like maybe 5 years later, and so every night when we'd go down, I would never walk where I saw the face. I would walk around it because I never wanted to be right there.
Well, that's just practical. That's just smart.
Yeah. So, and then interestingly enough, when after I graduated from college, I lived in that house again with other roommates, and I never went down there. I had one of the rooms in the top level.
I thought you were gonna tell me one of them was like,
I did too.
so I had this crazy thing. I saw Judas.
No,
I thought you were gonna be like,
I don't think
we
I ever
constructed
told them.
shit.
I don't think I ever told them. But there was another girl that lived in the basement. Like that's where she lived. And
If I was her, I would prefer not to know. To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, why? Yeah, absolutely not.
I think
Like it only happened one time. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about that every day.
so. It was freaky.
That is freaky.
Ooh. Now I feel bad.
I thought you were-
I don't have any ghost stories that have to do with Judas Iscariot.
The Lamb of God.
Do you have any ghost stories?
I do.
Have you seen a ghost?
I have a few. So I'll start with my first one ever.
Okay.
It was when I was at BYU, so I lived in Utah. And one of the things you do at BYU is you go hike around in Rock Canyon. So BYU, the school, is right up against the mountains, and there's this canyon, and you can go hiking. People go mountain climbing in there.
Yeah.
Well, it was my birthday, and I was hanging out with my friend Bergen, and she and I have been friends since like high school. And so maybe it was the day after my birthday. Either way, we're like, let's go do something fun. We decide, let's go hike into Rock Canyon at night because we had a cave up there that we knew about. And so we would sometimes just go hang out at this cave. And it wasn't that big of a cave. I wasn't totally sure if it was natural or not. It was big enough that you could stand up once you got inside, but you kind of had to like crawl to get in. And then it went back maybe 50 feet. And you could tell that other people knew it was there. But most of the time, if I talked about a cave in Rock Canyon, no, people were like, oh, where is it? And it was just sort of this like fun secret that I had found. So we go out to Rock Canyon and we park in the parking lot, and then we're starting to walk in. The cave itself is probably half a mile up the canyon. So we had to hike. And right past the parking lot, there's this big metal gate, kind of like you'd have in a ranch or something for cattle to keep people from driving up into the canyon. And as we're approaching, the gate just like swings open for us. And we were both like, and turned to leave, and then we're like, no, we're being dumb. Nothing to be afraid of.
Things opening on their own.
So, and we're like, it was the wind. Who knows?
Yeah.
Science explains it, I'm sure. So we keep going up the canyon, and what we're not telling each other is that both of us are having like a weird vibe. And I'm like, because there's mountain lions in that canyon sometimes. I'm like, are we gonna get attacked by a mountain lion? Like, why do I feel super weird? And when you're Mormon and you have weird vibes, you just assume it's a message for you.
Right.
Like God's trying to be like, hey, be careful. So we get to the cave, and we go in the cave, and we're there maybe like 2 minutes before finally, I can't remember which one of us, but one of us is like, I just feel like we should get out of here. I'm just having the craziest negative vibes. And then the other one of us was like,
Me too.
Me too. And then it was just sort of like eye contact, silent panic, and then like as safely getting out of the cave. And the way it was kind of hidden. So if you were walking up the path and you went the path would turn to the left, But if you kept going straight along the shoulder of this stream, you would pass this sort of tree, and around the tree it sort of like sloped up, kind of like just a bunch of rocks sloping up the side. And if you walk all the way up and around the tree, up this sort of like spiral shaped hill, up the top there was a little bit of like a landing, you know, like on the stairs, and then the cave was in the back there. So there's a flat area, then this sloping round hill down to the path. So we're walking down the hill, and the tree is sort of in the center of the circle. And it's just so weird because I like kind of catch out of the corner of my eye, there's like this little red dot in the tree. almost like it looked like the red light of an old video camera. And I'm like, what is, maybe someone's on the other side of the canyon, because you'd see people across the way with flashlights sometimes. Maybe someone has a laser pointer, I don't know. I just kind of ignored it. And then I looked back up and it was gone. I'm like, okay, we're still going around, so we're going down the tree. And then I'm thinking about it, so I look back up again, and the red light is back. And it's in a different spot in the tree. And Bergen notices it too, and we can sort of tell that we're just not acknowledging it, and then it disappears again. We keep walking around, making our way down the hill. It's kind of like rocks and slidey, so we have to go a little slow to be safe. And I look back, and the light is back again. And it's moved again. And now I can kind of see the path it's taking. It's coming down the tree and also out towards the edge of the branches. And this is in March. In Utah, that means there's no leaves. So you can see straight through the tree, and you can see that this light isn't coming from anything. It's like the size of a marble, just like floating in this tree, disappearing and then reappearing, following us down and around the tree. At this point, no, I'm getting emotional. At this point, Bergen and I are like, oh, it's a firefly, but we just book it and we start running. And she ends up slipping on some ice and gashes her knee open, and we'll spend the rest of the night at the emergency room.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
So never knew what the light was, but it feels like it was something not normal.
Is there a bug that has red like that? Like a firefly isn't red.
It's not red.
It's not it was. I pretended it was a firefly.
Right.
To calm ourselves.
Wow.
It's definitely not. It's a little ghost light.
Wow.
Ooh, creepy.
It's probably really important that we acknowledge how Mormons feel about ghosts.
Oh yeah.
So this is a Mormon podcast.
Because when you're in spirit paradise, you die. Oh no. And then spirit paradise or spirit hell. But like, you're not a ghost.
So this is where it's kind of fishy, and Ashley, please help me if I'm wrong. As far as I understand it, Mormons don't really believe in ghosts per se. They just believe that our spirits exist before and after we are alive.
Right.
And so it's not a ghost, it's a spirit. And the question is always, is it a good spirit or a bad spirit?
Yeah.
If it's a good spirit, it's usually showing up to deliver a message.
Got it.
Like Moroni or something.
But that's an angel.
And if it's a bad spirit, then it's there to sort of wreak havoc.
But sometimes a bad spirit can trick you.
Into thinking it's a good spirit.
Yeah.
Oldest trick in the book.
But you know how you can tell?
There's a test.
Oh, you can tell. There's a test?
Yes, and we will tell you how to know if the spirit talking to you is good or bad after these messages.
Right back.
Just kidding.
Wait, are we? I was like, wait. Do we get sponsors? I know.
I was thinking.
I know how you tell. I believe that the way you tell the difference between a good spirit and a bad spirit is similar to the way that you get rid of Bigfoot. You just yell something loud about Jesus. You're just like, Jesus is my homeboy, and then they either like disappear or they don't.
I don't know if you guys saw, but we threw out on our Instagram story that we were asking if anyone had any good ghost stories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a few people responded, and two of them I was like, can we read this on the show? And they said yes.
Yay.
Okay.
So, this first story is from our listener, Courtney. So, I'm just going to read it her words.
Okay.
She says, one of my brothers was preparing to serve a mission and was about to send in his paperwork. One morning, he comes down to breakfast all shaken up. According to him, this is what happened the night before. He was fast asleep when suddenly he was jolted awake by a strong, disconcerting presence. He opened his eyes and saw a man standing in the middle of his bedroom floor.
Moroni.
He questioned aloud who the man was. What was he doing there? He started speaking to my brother, and his topic was very specific. He started telling my brother that he didn't need to serve a mission, giving him all kinds of reasons to stay home and not be a missionary. There are already so many missionaries. They don't need you. It won't make a difference what you do on your mission, etc. The man wouldn't shut up, so my brother did the only thing he could think of. He started praying.
Wow.
I think he
Get those
invoked...
arms at right angles and pray.
Yeah, she's like... I think he invoked his priesthood power, but I'm not positive about that detail. But soon after he started his prayer, the man got louder, almost yelling, and suddenly a flash of, she puts it in quotes, lightning came down and struck the man, making him disappear.
What?
And she's like, did this really happen? Or was my brother having paranoid dreams? Who knows? It's still a great story. Like, yes, it is.
Oh my god, so creepy.
Another story from one of our listeners that they wrote to us and said that we could read it
Yeah.
is from Rachel, who I think knows my brother.
What?
Yeah. She'll have to write in and let us know.
Rachel, do you know DJB's brother?
She says...
I met him. He's very nice.
There's two of them.
Okay.
Rachel's first story, she says, I used to live in a house in Ephraim, Utah, and one day they went to fix the insulation and found a hidden room with a deteriorated bed spring mattress used for hiding wives. I had the bedroom next to where that was. The entrance was in my friend's closet.
What? Oh my god!
She says that even before she knew that, she never slept well there.
Oh, wow.
Hiding wives?
Mm-hmm.
Was that a thing?
Well, it was illegal,
To have multiple wives.
but the guy still wanted to, so, you know. We'll talk about it more another day.
Put a pin in it.
She doesn't have a photo of the hidden stairwise room, but there is a photo of the house that she included. And there's an arrow.
Oh my
to show us where it was.
god.
Whoa.
The red arrow was her bedroom, and the green is about where the hidden room was.
Wow.
And then her other story. My friends and I used to have bonfires at this place called Black Hill all the time. Yeah.
Boom. That's not a place you want to be. Red flag number 1.
One evening, I and one other girl got there before everyone else.
Red flag number 2.
Something was a little off. There were some wires and springs, but it was really dark and cold, so we pushed through the spooks and started to try to find twigs and things to build the fire. I used the flashlight on my phone to look around, built a little twig teepee. Then I realized the wires on the ground were probably a mattress. And then I saw a smashed computer sitting on a rock I usually sit on around the fire. Then the little fire teepee started smoking on its own. I had not lit the fire at all. It just started. I have a video of some of this as we called our friends to let them know we were spooked the hell out and wanted to show them, but also get the hell out of there. And then here's a video she sent.
Oh my god.
Documenting
oh
the
my
mystery
god.
smoke at the
Oh my
fireplace.
god. No way.
So, we didn't even light this fire yet. And it was only a tiny bit warm, but it's actually smoking.
Whoa. Yeah, no, I saw it.
Where? Oh, I see it. I see it. Oh my god.
We didn't even
What
light
the
this fire
fuck?
yet. And it was only
It's
a
like
tiny
coming
bit
in
warm,
out of
but
here.
It's actually smoking.
Like underneath. See it? Do you see it?
Oh my god,
like
I
out
did.
Of there, out of there.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What the fuck?
Wow.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
We're a little drunk,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of have a phone, and you kind of have a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something that's kind of wonderful when you're drunk and you have a phone and you can call people. And I thought for a Halloween special, why don't we also make this what we'll call a drunk dial special and just kind of see if we can get any of our friends on the phone to tell us their ghost story, so it's not just us.
Okay. Let's get our costumes right. Boop, boop, boop.
If there's one person I know who would have like a good story to tell, it would be Annie, who was our guest back when we did the Word of Wisdom, our 4th episode. So let's see if we can get her to answer her phone.
Oh, hey!
Hi! Annie, this is the Drunk Mormon Podcast. How are you?
Hello.
8. Awesome.
We're recording our Halloween special, and we wanted to call some of our friends and see if they have ghost stories, especially Mormon ghost stories or drunk ghost stories.
Yeah, and I definitely have a ghost story.
Will you tell it to
Tell
us?
us.
Yes. Okay. It's perfect because I don't know. I think it is so, I don't know, it just fits with the whole patriarchy. So, as you guys know, Mormon young men used to, not anymore, because, you know, the Boy Scouts kind of became too liberal.
Yeah,
But
the damn Boy Scouts.
those damn liberal Boy Scouts.
Letting everybody in.
But for a long time, the Boy Scouts and the church were just like super connected. They were like one and the same, basically.
Yeah.
For a lot of Mormons. So how the story goes is a group of young men, 12 to 18.
So children.
So basically children, but they have the priesthood.
They're priests. So a group of young priests.
Yes, they go on a camp out with their leader. And as they're hiking up through the woods, the leader has kind of like an ominous feeling, like he's feeling very unsettled, but he ignores that prompting, and they just keep walking through the woods. And like, it's just a little eerie, a little weird, but like everyone just kind of like pushes it to the back of their mind. And so then they get to their campsite, they pitch their tents and everything, and then go to bed. In the middle of the night, the leader wakes everyone up and is like, "Follow me now. Don't ask questions."
What?
Yeah. And so he wakes all the young men up. And so they all like tumble out and they're all following him. And they hear something in the distance, like a wailing sound slowly getting closer. And so they all hurry after him. Nearby was like this, I can't remember what the story said it was. It was like basically a concrete building.
This is a terrible camping trip. No campfire, no s'mores, next to this concrete building.
So anyways, and as they get in, the wailing is getting closer and closer, and they start hearing rustling, like something running towards them. And so as the last kid gets in the room and they slam the door, suddenly bang, bang, bang against the walls. And it's just constant throughout the night. They end up sleeping in there because all throughout the night, this wailing, this screeching is outside, and a slamming sound, almost like someone was thrusting themselves against the walls trying to get at them.
Oh my god.
And so
Oh my god.
together, they kneel in the center, and they pray. And they all combine their priesthood power and pray to protect themselves throughout the night. They waken in the morning. The sound is gone. They open the door, which somehow, like, they know it's morning somehow. I don't know. And so they go outside, and they look around the edges, and there is a dead deer that is against the walls throughout the night. You can see the blood on the walls and stuff. And concrete theme. And so the priesthood leader turns and says, "Let this be a lesson to you that Satan has great power, and he is after you young men because you are the future. You carry God's priesthood, and so you must be careful and you must use it wisely. If we hadn't listened to the Holy Ghost in the end, we would have been lost, And so always be aware of what's happening. Always be aware that Satan is always after you, and all this stuff." And so that's the end of the story.
Oh my god. What a crazy ghost story turned teachable moment.
And once again, like so many stories in Mormonism, there are no women.
True that.
It was a male deer?
That's so scary.
Or was it doe, a deer, a female deer?
I always picture it as a female deer because then it like represents lust and sexuality and men. The women are after you and. But
oh my god, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's terrifying, but.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's my only Mormon ghost story though.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I'll tell you one and we'll trade.
Yeah.
Okay, deal.
Okay. So this happened to me at my old apartment because I feel like there's something spooky about that time where it's like just past like the sun's been dark for a couple hours, everybody's feeling tired and going to sleep, and I feel like that's when like certain stuff starts to come along. And this is a quick story, but I was falling asleep. I had gotten into bed, I was falling asleep, and oh shit, I just dropped something. It doesn't matter to the story. So I'm falling asleep, and as I'm laying there, I'm like just kind of like getting past being like super aware and conscious. Like I'm starting to enter like real dozing territory, until like Oscar like jumps up on my bed and starts scratching himself.
The dog.
The dog, my dog Oscar.
Yeah.
I have a dog named Oscar. And he's scratching himself, and then I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't an Oscar. Because it was like shaking the whole bed.
Oh, wow.
And I realized that someone was sitting on the edge of my bed and shaking it.
What?
And because I was like just past what I could handle, I fell asleep.
Oh, wow.
No.
And I woke up a half an hour later to discover that there had been an earthquake.
That's not a ghost story.
But I fell asleep.
Oh my god! I thought you were gonna be like, the edge of the bed was singed. There was a dead deer sitting at the edge of my bed.
No, but I did fall
Oh my
asleep
God, that was
thinking
so
that there was an
scary.
invisible person moving.
How did you fall asleep?
I was really tired.
I absolutely would not have fallen asleep. I would have gotten up and probably like cried. Oh no.
Anyway, thank you for telling us your story. We
Thank
gotta
you.
move along. We're gonna bother some other people, but it's so good to see you.
Good to see you too. Your costumes are amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hear that, everyone? We're wearing costumes, but we won't tell you what it is yet. Okay. Bye, Annie.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey. Okay, I want to call one of my friends.
Okay.
I have a friend. She's really fucking cool. She's definitely like psychic on some level.
Does she listen to the podcast?
She does listen to the podcast.
So that's all I care about.
She's a friend of the podcast. So we're gonna call her, but it's not gonna be Mormon related. It's just gonna be a scary story. Also, I just want to see her.
Okay.
Well, yeah, she gotta answer first.
Hi.
Hi, beauty.
Hello, welcome. This is
It's
the
your
Drunk Mormon
friend.
podcast. We're calling you.
We're calling
Hi.
you. Hi. You guys don't know this, but every episode, Andy, it's me. You might not be able to see me because of my costume. Every episode, Andy calls in full support and then also gives me her great story that's related to what we were talking about. So I finally wanted to get her on the podcast so we could share her stories with the world.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We've
Thanks.
never called people on an episode before.
Yeah, this is our
new.
first time. We're doing our special Halloween episode, which is why we're in these great costumes that I handmade. And I feel like I know you have great ghost stories. And they don't have to be Mormon, but I want to hear your ghost stories.
Okay. I have one that I thought of
Yes.
about like 6 years ago. So I've lived in Chicago for maybe like 9 years now. 6 years ago, I was living in like this coach apartment in Lincoln Park.
Like the band.
Yeah, like the band.
Like the band.
I don't know. It was a beautiful apartment. It had a huge kitchen, really nice, like built-in, like Chicago vintage, like cabinet. Like I don't know. It's a very Chicago apartment thing.
Yeah.
But it was a really nice place. And I remember one time I was like horse playing around with like my boyfriend, guy I was fucking at the time, and
Yeah.
the cabinet doors from the built-in like swung open between us. It was really freaky. And we were both like, that was really weird, and then like shut them and like kept playing. I would hear like what I thought were footsteps if I was alone. And then something I had an L-shaped blue sofa, sectional sofa, and it would like sit down. I could see it.
No.
No.
Shut up.
It was really scary. And then I got
And
my
you know it
first
wasn't an
kitten.
earthquake.
Yeah, no earthquakes here. Then I got my first kitten, Luna, and it would play with it. It
Oh
seemed
my
like
God.
it would. Like
Oh
Luna
my
was playing with
goodness.
something.
Oh
It was
my
just, it was
God.
really strange.
Wait, so do you think it was like a nice
How does it play with a kitten?
ghost? Like a nice spirit or a bad one?
It was a very protective spirit.
Ooh.
By the end of it. So like Luna would like act like there was, and she was a kitten, so I was like, maybe she's just losing her mind, but she would act like there was like something there playing with her and like swat at something and then like run back and forth. And
Oh my God.
you know, I just thought my cat was crazy, but it was also a weird place. And then like sometimes like the cabinets in the kitchen would like open up, or I'd leave and I'd walk back in and they'd be open.
No.
No.
Did that a lot. And then I went home to Michigan to visit my parents, and I adopted another kitten at the time and brought her back. And I remember I walked in and all the cabinets were open, and I like announced to the house, I was like, stop fucking with me. Like, I'm tired of this. Please stop. And so nothing happened for like a while. And then I had a bunch of people over one day. And earlier that day, I had scoured my cast iron skillet. So you take like a rag and salt and you scour it, and then you have to season it, and then you put it. I don't know if anyone knows. I assume Lauren.
You don't know. I don't know. She knows me. I don't fucking know how to cook. I don't know how to clean either.
But so like, you're not supposed to really like touch it at that point, and like you put it in your oven. And I had taken it out, and then my friends came over, and I had one friend who was over the whole day, but who like saw me do all this. And then I went to like take it out of the oven, and it was cooling, and there was a handprint on it. Like,
No.
It was terrifying.
Whoa.
Like, we like threw it in the alley. We were like,
I don't need the skillet anymore.
God.
The skillet's gone.
it's gone. It was really, really scary. And then one time I was actually FaceTiming with a friend, or like Skyping with a friend, and I was talking about the ghost. And apparently it spoke to her, because she was like, who was that? And I didn't hear it, but she was really freaked out. She was like, it was like, who's that man's voice? I was like, I'm here alone. Like, I have cats. They don't speak to me.
But you didn't hear it.
No, I didn't hear it. She heard it on her end, which was always like the spooky thing. What else? Oh, and then I like got home from work one time. I had been dating a guy who was like really bad to me. And like I said, this ghost was protective. And I got home from work, and I had a really bad day, and the cats were acting really weird, and the house felt just like really strange. And I was just like kind of spooky, and I was kind of spooked, and I kept seeing something out of the corner of my eye. And I went into my bedroom, and my bed like kind of looked toward the doorway. And I like swore I saw something, and I was like, it's nothing. Like, it's nothing. And my cats were in the bed with me, and then the bed started to like shake. It was
Oh my God.
so scary. And I was just like laying there thinking like, I need to find someone who can help me. Like, I need to find a medium. And then like within the week, I had met someone who knew a medium, or like had worked with a medium for like spiritual advising and whatever. And so this woman came to my house, and she like came inside and was like, oh, we need light. There's so much energy. Like, give me a candle. And so we lit a candle, and the candle didn't burn. The flame just like sat there.
Whoa.
Like, and then she called on the Akashic records, which are the records of like every spirit, soul, intention that's ever been and ever will be, and like to be continued later. I don't know. But she was the medium, and she called on like, I don't know, some angels or whatever, and ended up like, I saw the ghost like sit down. Like, I saw the thing like sit, because she was like here, and I was here on the L shape, and then he sat right there, and it was really scary. And she told me that he was worried about me because I partied a lot, and like
what a judgmental ghost.
Like, apparently, but like he was.
Did he
mad
tell
at
you to
me.
smile more?
No, I wish. He, like, according to her, he died of like an acid, like dirty acid, and came back to that place, and like his soul stayed there. And so she was like, his parents they're on the West Coast and they're sick, and I'm going to try my best to send him there. And so she like talked to him for a while. The candle's still not burning, just like flame lit. Like, was really crazy. And I said goodbye, and then like nothing happened after that.
Nobody in the podcast can see this, but as you're talking, there's one cabinet like the left of you, and I've been staring at it the whole time. The whole time.
I was like, if that fucking thing opens,
I'd be so scared.
Be spooked. I'd be really scared. But yeah, that's my ghost story.
Wow.
That's so
crazy.
scary.
Yeah, his name was Rick.
Did she tell you that, or did he tell you that?
She told me that, and then when I was moving out, there was brickwork that I saw that like had his name like.
Oh my god! No!
Yeah, it was weird.
Oh my god!
The whole thing was really strange, but he was gone, and I hope that he finally like came to terms with his death.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a quick story to trade?
I do.
Okay, we're gonna trade you a story.
Okay, so
This is Ashley.
hi,
The
I'm
producer.
the producer. So I served a Mormon mission, and when you're on a mission, you are very close to the spirit, and you can feel things. You're super sensitive. And one day, my companion and I got home. This is when this is my first city, and
In Italy?
in Italy, and I was in Torino, which there's a theory that it's part of the Devil's Triangle, and I can't remember exactly, but there's 3 cities in Europe.
What
talking
is
about the
that?
drinking
Yeah, that's
game?
what is that?
No, but well played. Anyway, and there's 3 cities that in Europe that obviously make a triangle. There's like a huge like cult following, and so I'm in the city, and so we get home, and there's just my companion just had this terrible feeling that something bad was going to happen, and so as any good sister missionaries do, we called the elders right away,
Right.
and we said, we need you to come and bless the apartment. And the elders came over, blessed the apartment, and we went to bed, and everything was fine.
Oh, that's
Now, I
nice.
never had the feeling that anything was wrong, but I trusted my companion. She felt like we needed a cleansing.
Is the cleansing like Andy's cleansing? Do they light candles?
No, it was just a prayer. They just
Oh.
came over and did a prayer.
That's less theatrical.
And then since then, I've heard from many elders that have served missions that it actually happens quite frequently, where the sisters make them come over and bless the apartment.
Oh my word.
Yeah. I will say that the woman afterwards, she was like, when you sage your apartment, imagine like a golden glow around the area. So I do that even now in like a new space of like saging and like Palo Santoing and just giving out like an untouchable, like this is my sacred space, like nothing can penetrate it kind of vibe.
I like that a lot.
Thank you for your story.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you for
story.
sharing.
Yeah, I love your costumes. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me. Yeah, my name's Andrea and I've never been Mormon.
Perfect.
Squad goals.
Bye, my beauty.
Bye.
Love you.
Oh, that was so good. That
That's
was a
great.
story.
Oh, so creepy.
What's also crazy is while we were talking to her, one of my friends tried calling me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I know he has ghost stories because I asked him if I texted him to
Oh,
be like,
call
hey, can
him,
we
call him, call him,
So let's
call
call
him.
him right back.
Okay.
Hello. Hi.
It's your friends from the Drunk Mormon podcast.
It's the
Thank
Drum Mormon
you.
podcast.
We're here.
In full
We're here.
costume.
We're wearing our Halloween costumes.
What do you think?
We're making our Halloween episode right now.
You're all looking very nice. Very lovely.
Thank you.
This is my friend Stu.
Hi, Stu.
He also has a podcast that I help him with. So he's like the mistress of this podcast.
Wow.
So this is.
Wow.
I don't do his. I just
How
help him.
dare you invite him? How
Apparently
dare
I'm the
you?
other
We're
one.
wearing the same outfit. Tell me I'm pretty. Okay, back to Stu.
Hi, Stu.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
We're doing a Halloween special, and we're looking for some Mormon ghost stories.
Yeah.
I've got some for you.
Okay, why don't you, in like real quickly, let us know what your connection is to alcohol and/or Mormonism.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as alcohol goes, I once had a gulp of champagne and thought was disgusting.
It is disgusting.
It's better than red wine.
Everybody's like, I had this one alcohol that's terrible, and then I'll never drink it again. I feel like that's everybody's story. Like, I had one wine cooler and it sucked. Well, like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So I'm LDS.
You're not supposed to say that.
Oh no,
You're not supposed to say LDS anymore.
We learned about this.
You're
a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and wager. Just the English teacher linguist in me is going to go ahead and wager that I give that 5 years max before we just revert back to the short.
Absolutely.
Here's the real question, though. Did you go to church on Sunday? He's not answering. It's okay. We don't have to answer.
Keep going. No judgment here.
Tell us this good story.
All right. So I used to work security for the church.
Ooh.
And so I used to be a security guard downtown Temple Square, church headquarters. So I got to explore.
In the big, tall office building?
Yeah, all of it. I mean, I got to explore pretty much every nook and cranny of the Salt Lake Temple.
To the Beehive House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to tell me some weird Joseph Smith ghost story, and I'm so excited.
It's not Joseph Smith so much, but Brigham Young.
Oh my God! Why is he not the first person we called? Go!
Okay. So, one of the things that happened when we were in training was they were going through all the facilities, talking about the problems with securing them, yada yada. So one of them, we got to the Beehive House, which is Brigham Young's old house. Still there. It's now a museum, right?
Yeah.
It had all his old furniture and all their old stuff in it.
A lot of portraits.
Yeah. It's weird, old, interesting place.
Yeah.
And they were saying that every now and then, every couple of years, it seems like some homeless person tries to break in there and tries to sleep in the beds overnight. So they were talking about that, and then they said, other than that, the only thing you really have to worry about in the Beehive House is the ghosts.
Fuck.
And we all laughed. We all thought he was just being sarcastic or whatever. But there was this guy that I was being trained with, and he had worked security when he was in his young 20s, and then had gone off and done his career. He had retired. Now he was coming back to work part-time church security in his retirement, right? So he got really serious when our teacher said that. This guy got really somber, and he said, "We probably shouldn't joke about that." And the teacher's like, "My apologies," and he moved on. It was like, what the hell? What? And so I bugged him to tell me the story. And finally, he after like literally 2 weeks of me bugging him to try to get him to tell me, he finally relented and told me these stories. Now, a couple things you need to know about the Beehive House. First off, there are two main floors. There is a third floor. We'll get to that in a second. No one sees the third floor.
It's like fucking Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Well, the third floor is more like an attic. It's not like an actual usable floor that they lived in.
Okay, keep going.
But the first two stories where they lived, and the top of the south flight of stairs on the second floor, there's this big, beautiful room with all these instruments, right? And so there's cellos and like a harpsichord and all these just ancient instruments that have, 200-year-old instruments or almost. And so they got this music room filled with instruments. And then on the top of the north flight of stairs is a room that is filled with toys. It's the toy room.
Why?
Just the toys that his kids played with.
No.
And they're really cool and interesting. But what happened was this guy was telling me that when he was in his 20s, he was going through. And when we worked night shift, we just walked through it alone at about 2 a.m.
No.
Just to make sure it's all clear, make sure all the doors are locked, windows
No homeless
secure.
people in the beds.
No homeless people in the bed. Exactly. And so he was walking through one night. He was on the main floor near the south side of the house. All of a sudden, he started hearing noise coming from the second floor. And so he said he stopped and listened for a second and thought that it was music. And he thought someone was upstairs maybe playing a radio or something, because this was the early 80s. So he went running up the stairs, and he got to the top of the flight of stairs, and he could tell that the music was coming from the room right next to the top of the flight of stairs. And he looked, and it was empty. But he realized he was still hearing music. And he sat, and he was looking around the room, and his eyes rested on a giant harp that was settled in the middle of the room. And he said his eyes focused on the strings, and he could see the strings vibrate as if they're being played.
God.
Get out. Hanging up now. I'm hanging up.
So he noped his way out of that building. And he told me this story, and I was like, whatever. But then he's like, but that wasn't the only time. I was like, there was another one? And he said that one night he was under another flight of stairs that led up to the third floor, or next to the flight of stairs. It's kind of hard to describe how it is laid out. But he was next to this flight of stairs, kind of under it. And it was 2 a.m, and he was there alone. And he said all of a sudden he heard these footsteps, like a series of footsteps running up the flight of stairs to the third floor, which is just basically an attic. And it's not used for the museum. It's just used for storage and everything. It's not lit. The rest of the building is lit, albeit very dimly. But the third floor isn't.
Those unlit stairs.
So he was creeped out because he'd already had this one experience near the music room, but he thought, well, what if this is a bunch of kids that stayed after we closed, right? And so he's like, I have to check this out. So he jumped the gate at the bottom of the stairs.
No.
He has his flashlight. He walks up to the top of the flight of stairs, and there's this very little door that is usually closed and locked, but it was slightly ajar.
No.
He opens the door, and he shines his light down the tiny little corridor there, which goes off and breaks off to the right, kind of has a little T-junction. And when he shined his light down, he heard a little girl's laughter from around the corner.
No.
And he just noped his way out of there again. He's like, nope. And he just ran out. And what's funny is he even recognized at the time, he's like, that could have been a kid, an actual kid who just stayed in after we closed. He's like, but how did they get through this locked door and all this stuff? Anyway, he told me these things, and can I curse on your show?
Absolutely.
All right. So he told me these things, and I was like, bullshit. I was absolutely no way, because I'm pretty cynical when it comes to this stuff, and including the story I'm about to share with you. That was my own experience.
Oh my God!
No.
I'm pretty cynical with this stuff. I tend to think most of these experiences with the other side are just us our imaginations being really powerful, coming up with something that's very evocative, right? And so he told me this crap, and I was like, bullshit. I was like, he is just trying to creep out the new guy, And admittedly, it kind of worked, because every time I went into the Beehive House at 2 a.m. by myself, and every time I walked by the music room, or any time I walked by the little flight of stairs that led up to the third floor, I was like, ugh, just kind of creeped out. But I went through for several months, like 8 months, and didn't see anything weird, nothing happened. And I kind of got used to being there in the middle of the night in this just dark old house. And it's creaky, and it's a little creepy to be in there alone, but you get used to it, right? So I was there on Temple Square one day with a girlfriend. I was there during the day, which I almost never was. So we decided to walk through and see what things looked like with the lights turned on. And we ran to this sister missionary, this girl missionary, and we started talking. And my girlfriend's like, oh, he works security here. And the missionary said, well, I don't recognize you. I usually know the security guys. I'm like, I work nights. And she goes, can I ask you a question? And I was like, sure. And she's like, do you go through the Beehive House? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she's like, what time do you go through the Beehive House? I was like, 2 a.m. And she goes, do you take anybody with you? I was like, no, we just go through alone. And she goes, you go through the Beehive House alone at 2 a.m. And I started to get a little like leery about this. And I said, yeah, why do you ask? And she said, because me and 3 other sisters in my district, in my little missionary group, have seen the toys in the toy room moving by themselves.
Whoa.
No.
And this creeped me out so much more than the other stories did. Because I had just met this woman. I was never going to see her again. What possible motivation could she have to try to creep me out like that?
She
right?
just wants a good podcast.
If there's
in the
one thing
future.
I know about old-timey toys, they always move on their own.
So
And they
Right.
will get you if you look
Or
away.
they will move. That shit will move. So
I've never seen an old-timey toy that hasn't.
So, admittedly, by that point, I was kind of creeped out. That being said, here's my caveat when I tell this story. Is it possible I could have imagined what happened to me? Absolutely. I can't explain some of the details away, but that doesn't mean it absolutely happened either. Like I said, I'm kind of a skeptic when it comes to this crap, but this was a weird experience. So, first off, when we go in, at least at the time, I don't know how it is now, but at least at the time, it was a double lock door. So we had to lock ourselves in with the key.
Why would you do that?
They had a door with a crash bar at the back, like an emergency exit door that had a crash bar. But if you're going in without an alarm or going out without an alarm, you have to actually unlock it with a key. So I walk in, I lock myself in, and I'm walking through. Now, there is this one room. It kind of used to be an entryway, and it's hard to describe, so just try to follow me on this. There is an entryway next to a hallway, and kind of kitty corner, sitting in a corner, is this big, beautiful dining room. And there's an arch leading from the entryway into the dining room, and then around the corner is just a tiny little, it's just a normal door that leads from this dark hallway into that same dining room. So it's kind of a corner room. And I was walking over there, and here's the thing, I was not creeped out, I was not worried, I was not like working up my own imagination at that point, right? I was very accustomed to that place. So it is important to remember that. And I was walking through, and it's this old creaky wood, and I'm wearing a suit because, you know, Mormon security, we wear suits. And we were walking through, and I could hear the wood creaking and moaning under my feet, and I could hear my own footsteps. And then all of a sudden, I felt like there was some weird echo or something. And it kind of kept persisting as I was walking through the house. And as I came close to this old entryway, I stopped, and I listened, and there were other footsteps. And what I thought initially was an echo actually was somebody else walking, and I swear I could hear the wood creaking and moaning, like the wood from inside the house. I felt like I could hear that. But, you know, my adrenaline started going, so I was like, hey, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, now this hallway that's directly in front of me is completely pitch dark. It's one of the very, very few places in the main floor that's not lit. The only light that's shed into it is the light that is from the dining room that is coming out of the doorway. So it kind of goes into the hallway like a V, right, outside of the door. That's the only light in that hallway. And I sat and I'm listening, trying to determine where these footsteps are coming from. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement, and I looked, and in that light, in that doorway, I saw a shadow pass. And it was as if somebody was in the dining room pacing, and that their shadow was being like thrown into the hallway through this doorway.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
And here's the one thing where I don't know if this was my imagination, because my imagination did not go to ghost. My imagination went to, I am locked in here with some unknown person. I'm maybe a homeless person, maybe I don't know, but like I'm locked in here with some unexpected person, right? And so I sat there. I sat there, and I was like, crap, what am I going to do? And so I wasn't thinking ghosts. I was thinking I'm going to have to confront a person alone without backup, being locked in the thing. It's going to be at least 3 or 4 minutes before somebody else can get to me, right? So I I pull out my baton and I get the little clicker that activates my radio in the other hand. I was going to confront the person, and then I was going to call for backup, right? So as quietly as I could, I sidled up to the corner of this big arch that leads into the dining room. And I take a breath, and I jump into the archway ready to tell them to freeze. And I jump into the archway, and there's nobody there, and the footsteps stop.
Wow.
And I sat there in shock, because I knew there was somebody in there, and I was expecting to see somebody, and there was nobody in there. And I just blinked for a second, and then I ran. And I ran so hard. I ran all the way to I didn't even finish my check. There's no way in hell I'm going through the rest of this building. And I got to the front door, and I was so anxious, and there was so much like adrenaline pumping in me that it took me like 3 tries to get to the right key. But I walked out of there, and there had been a fresh snow that night. And I was like, okay, this person had to have been like on the deck right outside the dining room or something, because it's on an exterior wall. So I go running around to the side, and there's fresh snow, and the only tracks in the snow were mine. And I called another guard, and I said, hey, could you come back me up? I thought I heard somebody. And we were walking around the place, and he's like, I don't see any signs of it. No fresh tracks tonight. Like, are you sure you saw something? I'm like, no, I'm really not sure. He's like, do you want to check inside? I was like, no, I really don't want to check inside.
Oh my God.
And so I can't explain that away, because I wasn't thinking ghosts. I was thinking, I'm in here with the dude, right? So I wasn't necessarily like building that expectation up in myself, but like I said, I'm not positive I saw a ghost, or I don't know what I saw. I don't know what I experienced, but it was freaking weird.
It was Brigham Young.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Most people that work in the Beehive House or the Lion House, it's a restaurant that's connected to the Beehive House. Mm-hmm. Most people there have some weird, crazy experiences. There's some weird shit that goes on at those places.
Oh my
God.
We were there, and I had no idea. We were in the house. We saw the dining room.
We did see the dining room.
Because it's by the exit, right?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you exit through
the doorway.
Yeah, so you know that little entryway I'm talking about. Yeah.
Holy crap.
It was awesome.
Okay. Different strokes for different folks. I would have picked a different adjective.
Yeah. That is one of my best stories. I love telling that story. So, at the time it wasn't awesome, but now I'm kind of glad it happened, because I get to come on podcasts and tell about it.
Thank you for sharing. That's so
of course.
Scary.
Do we trade one? I don't think I have.
Does anybody have one?
I just have a Halloween memory.
Go for it.
When I was little, like when I had to have been like 4 or 5, my parents decided to make our house a haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
And like all my cousins were like werewolves and all this stuff, and I didn't really understand what was going on. And I just remember one time I got so scared that I ran into our library and peed on the floor. Because nobody was watching me.
How old
that
were you?
happens like to the
4.
best of us.
Oh, okay.
I was little.
I was like 13.
This was last year.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, don't leave your kids alone in a haunted house, especially if it's their own house.
So scary.
Yeah, that's my only ghost story related to
It was
the
a
church.
good one. It was a good one.
So,
oh my God.
yeah.
That was a great one.
Well, you can catch more of Stu at Backtrack History, his history podcast.
Thanks, Stu.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's fun.
Yeah.
Hope you guys have a happy Halloween.
Oh, you too.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Probably making all that shit up.
History, just his story.
Also, I did not know where that. I knew he had a story. I didn't know where it was. I was like, "Where is it? We've been to the Beehive House. Do you know where that
somebody
is?"
told me that before we fucking went in there.
Yeah.
Just probably trailing
We're doing
ghosts
all
out.
our Mormon adventures out of order.
That's true.
Not informed. I had one more friend who said we could call her.
Let's do it.
Let me see if she'll answer.
Also, is Stu a history teacher in Salt Lake City?
He teaches high school in Lehigh.
Yeah,
I think.
Pennsylvania?
No, Lehigh, Utah.
Utah.
Is there Lehigh, Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, no, there's a Lehigh school that was next to my school. Oh, wait, I gotta put my costume back. Hi.
Hello.
This is Drunk Mormon Podcast.
It's your friends.
We're
Wow.
calling you.
I'm so overwhelmed in every sense of the word. How's it going, guys?
It's going.
It's
We're
very
just-
terrifying. We've heard a lot of really scary stories.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just calling people asking if they have ghost stories.
I can't wait to hear them.
Yeah, and you just had. This is Candace. This is my friend Candace. She just
Candace.
had. She's Ashley's friend too.
She is
She
my
just
friend,
had a.
No, she's my friend.
A ghost stories party.
I know.
You had a ghost stories party?
No, I couldn't go.
I did.
And so
I
we
did.
copied the idea and we're doing it
That's
now.
so smart. Yeah, we stole it.
It's okay. I'm sure I've stolen it, and it's not a new thing. Ashley, I didn't even recognize you in your costume.
Thank you.
I was,
But you
I was
recognized
like-
me?
yeah, I did. That jawline is so distinct.
That's true.
Do you have a scary story? A scary ghost story you can wow.
Yeah,
You can share with us?
I do.
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on. Very briefly, just have to tell everybody whether you're Mormon and whether you drink.
So I am Mormon. I don't drink. And I don't think we're supposed to technically use Mormon anymore. It's new branding.
Yeah,
She
you're
passed.
on it.
She passed. She's
Stu did not
she
know
is
that.
a true member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Right
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I'm a part of the. I don't even know what it's supposed to be called, but I know you're not supposed to use Mormon anymore.
Yeah.
Which, if I was smart, I would have
I
gone.
think you're
and
a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saintian.
there. Saintian.
Yeah, that's what you are now.
I'm a Saintian.
Thanks.
I'm a Saintian.
Ascension Satian.
I'm a sentient Saintian.
I said Satian. That's a different thing.
That's different.
So my story begins in 2013.
Ooh.
It was, yeah, right?
Scary
What a
year.
different
Ugh.
So I was at the happiest place on earth,
Disney World.
Disneyland. Disneyland. So I was at Disneyland, and I was also visiting California Adventure.
Uh-huh.
And I was with my dad and his high school choir. He's a choir teacher, and every year they go on a 2-day trip to Disneyland and California Adventure, and they perform and do a little show for like guests at the park. And I was there just sort of as a tag along, kind of helping chaperone a little bit. So it was a Saturday night. It was about 7:00. It was in between World of Color and after the kids had performed, and everybody was out in the park wanting to have as much fun as they could because their field trip was almost over. They could go on all the roller coasters and scream as loud as they want because they didn't have to sing anymore. And so I was in line on what is now the Incredicoaster. It used to be called Scream in California.
California Scream.
And
Wait, is she
California
gonna tell
Scream.
me that fucking Disneyland is haunted? Keep going.
So I was in line, so there was a handful of about 7 students that went in front of me, and then I was with my younger sister and her friend Sal, and we were trying to catch up with them in line. So it was like us 3, a couple of people, and then all the students ahead of us. And so when we got up to the coaster, it's like it goes 2 by 2. And since I was the odd man out, they called on a single rider. And so they called on this girl from the single rider line, which is a separate line from the main entrance line. And I remember what she looked like. She was like adolescent, preteen age. She had like medium length brown hair, kind of light brown freckling. She had like jean shorts and some kind of Abercrombie or American Eagle like sweatshirt that was a bit oversized. So we get on the roller coaster and she gets on, she's by herself. My first instinct is to kind of say something like, supportive or motherly, just because, she seemed like she was a young kid on a roller coaster by herself. But every time I was about to say something, I kind of resisted. So the way this roller coaster starts is you get on and you have the over-the-shoulder straps that come down, and lock you in, right? So you have something here and here over your like shoulders and your chest. And then the roller coaster, it carts out to an area where you shoot off. So you're driving for a little bit, and then you pause, and then the roller coaster starts, and you go through the whole thing. So as we're carting through, I just kind of feel like I should say something to her, but I don't. And then the roller coaster starts, and you're going through, and I'm having fun on the roller coaster. It's like super loud. There's music playing. You're twisting. You're going upside down. And kind of halfway through, I noticed that she wasn't screaming. And I was kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, she's probably super scared. And so, the roller coaster finishes. And what happens is you load off and you go down a set of stairs to the photo booth area, right? Or where they have your photos for the ride. So I'm the last person off the ride. And I'm coming down the stairs. She has disappeared into the crowd. Like, I remember seeing her walk through and people, like, coming past her. And, like, her just disappearing. Because even at the end of the ride, I was going to say something, and I just didn't. And so I'm coming down the stairs now. And my little sister, who is sitting in front of me with her friend Sal, comes up and runs up to me, and she's like, Candace, somebody was sitting next to you, right? And I go, yeah. What do you mean? She goes, okay,
oh my
like,
gosh, I'm already freaking
she's like, somebody was there, right? I was like, yeah, like, whatever. And I'm kind of looking around like, yeah, where's this girl? She should be over here. So she pulls me up to one of the TV monitors, and it's this, like, group of high school students that are all kind of giving me this, like, horrified, like, blank look of just, like, what? And then Sal looks confused, and Christine points to the monitor. And I look, and I see Christine, Sal, and then I see myself, and next to me is a completely empty chair.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Oh my god!
And I just stood there for a second.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm very, very serious.
No.
So I just stood there for a second, and I go, okay, well, that's not what I thought would be there. So I go to the counter, and I'm like, excuse me, ladies. I noticed somebody in our or somebody that rode the ride with us. They're not in the picture. Do you guys alter the photos at all? Like, maybe she'd flipped off the camera or done something obscene, and they can, quickly Photoshop. I don't know, Disney magic, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, we can't. The only thing we can do is delete a photo. And I go, okay, well, here's the thing. I don't want to sound weird, but somebody sat next to me and they're not in the photo. Do you know anything about that? Have you ever seen this before? And they're like, nope. Like, they were just kind of like, that's weird.
To say the least.
So yeah, to say the least.
What the hell?
So that's my little story. It's, brief, but it's cool. And so I'll text DJB right now the photo.
Oh my gosh, he has the photo! Oh my god!
So the photo that you're going to be getting is it is actually the photo of the monitor. That's the only photographic evidence I have.
Oh my god.
Oh my.
And everybody else saw the girl.
Yeah, I have 2 witnesses.
Well, you need 3.
You need 3.
Well, she's the third, right?
I guess so.
I'm the 3rd witness, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Nothing is in the picture.
So feel free to put that in your show notes for that episode.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
You can post this?
Yeah, feel free to post it. Yeah, I've actually never posted it anywhere. I should put it on Reddit this year.
That's
Amazingly scary.
is she? I'm like, maybe she's really short.
Did
Maybe
she
she
like duck down or something?
No, because you can see the bar.
Yeah. The bar's down.
You couldn't get your shoulders to pass that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
And also, like that part of the ride where the photo is taken, there is a lot of momentum, but not enough momentum
To force you
like,
down.
to force you down like that. Yeah,
Oh
sorry, I
my
didn't know.
God.
So yeah, that's my story.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
I'm very pro ghost, and this time of year is one of my favorite times to talk about ghosts and spirituality. So
Well,
Yeah.
We've been trading everybody's stories.
Yeah.
I don't think no one has one as good as that. I feel.
I don't have one as good as that, but I feel like it's an okay story. So I'll trade.
Yeah.
I'll trade my last ghost story.
Okay.
Which is when I had an encounter with the ghost of Jimi Hendrix.
What?
Jimi Hendrix. So I was doing a favor for a friend who was doing a favor for his mentor's mentor and helping out these people who were trying to put together a new ghost hunting show.
Okay.
And the spin of their show was that they would go to like celebrity houses. So we were at this incredibly expensive mansion in Hollywood, and we had filmed like just some stuff with models earlier, just like showing the rooms in the daylight, and that's all I was helping with was some interviews. I was running camera for some interviews, and then the host of the show was this like celebrity astrologer psychic woman, and she immediately took a shine to me, and she was like, what sign are you? And I was like, well, I'm a Pisces Aries cusp. And she was like, I could tell you were Pisces. Are you sensitive? Da, 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 da. I was like, I mean, and I'm intuitive, like I can feel people's feelings, but you know, because I want to believe, but I don't necessarily like hold my breath about it. So she's like, well, do you want to stay for the ghost hunt? And I was like, looking around at this expensive mansion that all these famous people have lived in over the years, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to get this invitation twice, so sure, let me figure out how to do it. So I stuck around, and like the ghost hunting guys showed up and set up all their equipment, and while they were getting ready, this astrologer, she's like, well, why don't you walk around with me? And we'll see if you can like feel anything. I'm like, okay. So I'm holding like one of those things that the ghost hunters hold, where it has like the little needle and like the green to red spectrum, and we go into this room that they were calling the Jimi Hendrix room because it's where he lived. So we go into this room, and every room had a different list of celebrities who had lived there. And this room had at one point been the home to Jimi Hendrix. And I'll be honest, I felt like weird in that room. And it was almost like it sounds so hokey to say, but it's like the air had like energy to it. Like it just sort of felt like there was just like some vibrations or something going on. So, bump in the table, like a bump in the night. So, we just go and we like sit down, and she's like, well, why don't you try talking to the ghost? And I was like,
oh wow.
I was like, what am I supposed to say? And she's like, just talk to him and ask him stuff. So I'm like feeling real awkward about being like, are you here with us, kinds of stuff. And these other two people came into the room and joined us, who also wanted a quick tour before they started. So then it was the four of us in the room, and we were just kind of walking around looking at stuff. I'm still kind of feeling weird, but then we decide we're going to move and go look at another room. And so we just kind of wind our way out of the bedroom. There's two people in front of me and one person behind me. And when I get on into the landing, I realize, oh, there's three people in front of me.
What?
So who was behind me?
Oh my god.
And I didn't like turn and look at the person, but like if I had just thrown my hand back, I would have hit them. That's how sure I was that there was somebody there.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
So I like to believe it was Jimi Hendrix.
Of course.
Could have been someone else, but probably Jimi Hendrix.
Most likely Jimi Hendrix.
Most likely Jimi Hendrix.
Wow.
That's really cool.
And you can always listen to find out all the other stories.
It's true.
I know. I was going to say, what are the other stories? But I'll listen to the episode to find out.
Yeah, they're good ones.
They're
We've got some good
We've got
ones.
some good ones.
Did you guys get any like mission, like exorcism stories?
No.
No.
Okay.
But no, we didn't. But you should listen anyway.
Do you have one?
Okay.
Okay, well, bye, Candace. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Is she exercise somebody or no?
Okay, so there's this thing that happens where sometimes when you're on your mission, especially if it's like more of a third world country place, South America, you might get called upon to perform exorcisms.
Multiple? Who?
Well, just like if someone's possessed by an evil spirit.
But like
as a missionary,
you
you'll be
as
asked
like
to
a
do-
child missionary?
No,
or
as like an 18-year-old boy.
They'll
19-year-old
are you
perform
gonna
the
exorcise somebody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hear about it. I don't personally know anyone who has a story. If you have a mission story of involving exorcism and possession, write in, let us know. If but most of the people, if you hear about those stories, they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? There is one Mormon exorcism story that I do know the details of.
What?
So, in 1830, April of 1830, the Mormon Church was started, right? Within the month, Joseph Smith performed an exorcism.
What? On who?
So he had a friend whose name was Joseph Knight. And Joseph Knight wasn't Mormon. I think he was Unitarian. But they were friends.
Okay.
And Joseph Smith would give sermons and preaches around because, you know, he started this new church.
Right. He's doing things.
Always be pushing. So he's doing that. And Joseph Knight, the non-Mormon friend, sort of the Lauren in this situation, had a son named Newell Knight, which is a terrible name. So Newell was like, I don't know, this Mormon stuff seems kind of cool. So Newell's like talking with Joseph Smith, and he's like, da, 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 and Joseph Smith said, well, why don't you learn how to pray? And he was like, oh, sure, I mean, yeah, I can pray. But then, like, he'll just be, like, shy about it, or he, like, won't pray for some reason. And Joseph Smith's like, well, you know what I did is I went out in the woods and prayed.
Yeah. It worked pretty well for me.
And Newell's like, okay, I'll give that a shot. So Newell goes out into the woods to pray, but he just, like, can't do it. For whatever reason. I don't know.
Okay.
He can't get his spiritual boner up to pray. So he goes back home where his wife is, and his wife sees him and is like, whoa, what the fuck is going on with my husband? Because by the look of him, she was like, something's wrong. And either she chose to do this or he asked her to do it, but she goes and runs and gets Joseph Smith, and she's like, I need you to come back and talk to my husband. So Newell is like freaking the hell out. I have a quote that I'm going to read from Joseph's writing. Joseph said, talking about Newell, he's like, his visage and limbs distorted and twisted in every shape and appearance possible to imagine. And finally, he was caught up off the floor of the apartment and tossed about most fearfully.
What?
And so Newell's like grabs Joseph Smith's arm and he's like, I need you to cast this devil out of me. I know you can do it. And Joseph Smith is like, okay, well, because you know I can do it, I know it'll work. And so he says he rebukes the devil and commands him in the name of Jesus Christ, just like with fucking Bigfoot.
That's what I said. I knew it.
And he commands the demon in the name of Jesus Christ to depart from him, and it does. And Newell says he could see it leave.
That's like not as dramatic as I thought it was gonna be.
It's not as dramatic, isn't that?
I was picturing like, what's that movie with Keanu Reeves, where he's like a demon hunter? He's got those things. Constantine. Constantine. The movie with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, it wasn't like that.
No.
But here's the thing. Joseph Smith said that this was the first miracle ever performed in the Mormon Church.
Really?
They don't tell you that in Sunday school.
Nope.
But the first Mormon miracle was an exorcism.
But why don't they like tell you about that in Sunday school? That's really that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
That's intense.
They like don't talk, like they don't ever officially talk about ghosts or exorcisms or demons. And like my parents, I loved watching ghost hunting shows when I was a kid, and if they ever talked about demonic stuff and my parents heard it, they'd make me turn it off. Like
What?
zero tolerance.
Wait,
my
Mormons
uncle told
believe
me
in
my uncle told me that if he ever caught me using a Ouija board, he would hunt me down and kill me.
What?
I think he might have been exaggerating, but like that's how at least my family was like real strict. And I've heard stories of things happening on my mother's side of the family. Like one person, there was something in their room and they couldn't see it, but they knew where it was, and it was like in their bedroom. And they had to have one of their family members was a bishop, and he came and like got rid of it.
Wait, so Mormons believe in Satan but not demons?
They believe that Satan has angels, because there was the third of heaven that was cast out in the premortal existence. If you don't know about that, go back to episode 3. Mormons believe that in the possibility that those spirits can be on Earth and doing shit.
But if we don't talk about them, they won't bother us.
Well, it's that kind of thing. I mean, that's not an uncommon idea. If you don't talk about it, then it's less likely to manifest. This is also a really great anxiety coping mechanism. If you don't think about it, maybe it'll hopefully solve itself.
Or as the Book of Mormon musical likes to teach us, just turn it off.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. Creepy. The first miracle.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
The first miracle of
Things you learn.
Mormonism. Exorcism of Newell.
And if you do perform an exorcism, it's not as theatrical as you would expect. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
They do what they call raising their arm to the square, which is where you hold your arm up like a right angle, like you're going to give an oath in Congress. And you basically command in the name of Jesus Christ.
Is it only for boys to do, or can women do it too?
Well, in theory, it's if you use the power of the priesthood, women can.
Right.
Yeah. That's true. We can't.
Can women raise their arm to the square?
No, I don't think so, but we can pray.
Well, I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now.
I mean, you're physically capable, but...
Look at that.
But I can't.
Look at those right angles.
I can't. If he were to say it, and I said the same thing, I can't. Like, it wouldn't work. I'm not using the right authority, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, how are we supposed to protect ourselves? How are we supposed to protect ourselves from demons?
Well, I'll tell you this.
Satan.
The least we can offer you is the ability to tell whether it is a good guy, a bad guy, or a bad guy pretending to be a good guy.
Okay, how do I know?
So...
This is taught in
church.
Doctrine and Covenants.
This is in the official canon of the church. Again, they don't like talk about it a lot,
right?
But it is there. So basically, what you do is you ask the spirit to shake your hand.
What?
So, what do you remember about the plan of salvation? The people who were cast out in the premortal existence. What did they miss out on?
Bodies.
They don't have a
They
body.
never got bodies.
And good spirits, until the resurrection, they don't have bodies either. But there are some special spirits who have already been resurrected and have bodies. So there's basically 3 options of what can happen if you ask to shake its hand. Okay? If it is a good spirit that doesn't have a body, it won't shake your hand.
Okay.
It just won't. If it's a good spirit that does have a body, it'll shake your hand and you'll feel it. And if it's a bad spirit pretending to be a good spirit, it will shake your hand and you won't feel anything.
Oh my god!
I remember learning this as a
scary.
kid, and I was always terrified that a spirit was going to show up, because the scariest thing in the world is if it's a nice spirit and then you're like, okay, can I shake your hand? And then it offers you its hand and you feel nothing. It's like, what do you do in that moment? I have goosebumps right now talking about it. Like,
you do this and you say, in the name of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, get the fuck out.
But we are taught that if we do find we're in the presence of a bad spirit, we can say, in the name of Jesus Christ, I do command you to leave my presence. Something like that.
Yeah.
At least even as women, we can.
They respect that Jesus guy for some reason.
They love that guy. Although holding your body at right angles also seems like part of the puzzle. They don't like right angles, and they do like Jesus.
So they respect him.
They respect him.
They may not like him, but they respect him.
They sure do respect him.
And now I'd like you to shake my hand. Just kidding.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, what an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist. I'm like terrified. I don't know why. Like, I feel like we've been sharing these ghost stories. I'm scared.
Let's do one more.
Okay.
This is a Mormon ghost story, And it's the reason that we picked a cocktail called a Gravedigger.
Oh, no.
And this is a story of John Baptiste.
So a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
In France.
Well, we're not really sure where John Baptiste came from.
Okay.
Some people say he was born in England. Some people say he came from Australia. Some people say he came from France. There are records to indicate he did move to the United States from Australia. But he eventually immigrated to Utah, and when Brigham Young was the prophet. And he worked as a gravedigger.
And that was his job. He would dig the graves for the dead.
And no one really paid him much attention. Until one day, there was a guy, his name was Moroni. I forget his last name.
It doesn't, yeah, I don't know.
There was a guy named Moroni who was
Are people
buried.
naming their kids after Moroni?
Yeah.
Oh, it seems
I know
sacrilegious.
multiple people who are alive whose name is Moroni.
There you go.
So, anyway, not the angel.
Right, just a guy.
Just a guy.
Same name.
He was dead and he was buried. Or maybe it was his brother.
His brother.
It was his brother. So his brother was buried. This is why Ashley's here. His brother was buried, and they were going to move the body to a family plot. And so they exhume it. And when they open the coffin, they find that the body is laying face down and is naked.
What?
And
I
what's
assume that's
strange
not
is they
normal.
go talk to like the police dude and like, hey, what is up with this? And he's like, I know that's not how we buried him, because I not only was part of the people burying him normal face up, but I paid for his clothes that he was wearing that he was buried in.
So the brother was super upset.
Yeah, he's pissed.
Moroni
Yeah.
was upset.
And they started an investigation.
Okay.
And they found that they were thinking that John Baptiste was a little suspicious. So they were kind of looking into him.
And they went in his house, right?
They did. They went in his house,
And
and
there's-
his house was filled with clothes.
Like dirty, soiled
Dirty
clothes.
clothes. He had them drapes, like as drapes and furniture covers. And then there was a large vat that was placed for boiling the clothing of the dead. So
He got in trouble.
he did.
Yeah!
Because it turns out he had robbed 300 bodies.
350.
Of clothes?
Well, definitely the clothes. There is some suspicion and rumors of necrophilia.
Oh my
They're
god.
fucking naked.
They're naked.
And they're-
And they're face down.
Yep. And so what happens?
Well, Brigham Young's like, look, we could kill him, but I feel like that's letting him off too easy.
Oh no.
So here's what we're going to do.
Oh god.
We're going to banish him to an island in the Great Salt Lake called Fremont Island. All that was on the island was like some cows and a shack. So they banished him to go live
On Fremont
in
Island.
exile on this little island in the Great Salt Lake. And what was it, 6 weeks later?
Oh, a few weeks even. He's gone.
They go to check on him and he was gone. They couldn't find him. And no one knows what happened to him. One of the rumors is that he like built a raft
Yeah.
to sail away.
Or that he took his own life. That's another rumor. But some stories claim that people go to the area and they've seen him walking on the water's edge, clutching in his hands a bundle of wet, rotted clothing.
Oh my god!
So that's the story of John Baptiste, the grave digger and
grave
grave
digger.
robber.
God!
You've been drinking his drink this whole time.
God. It's full of clothes.
I thought it tasted like cotton.
Oh my god. That's so creepy. We didn't go there.
No, that's a great trip though. Next time you gotta
Fremont
go to the Great
Island.
Salt Lake. Those were some really good stories.
Those are some
Those
great
are some
stories.
great
Great.
stories.
This
I'm
is a
freaked out.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm feeling all the heebie-jeebies from all these fucking stories. And I have to say, like, reading a scary story is one thing, but like having someone tell it to you who it happened to,
It's so different.
it's awful.
Having
but
people
so good.
send you like photo evidence of it is terrifying.
I can't. And the whole episode has been an activity.
Yeah.
And it's been long. So I think I had an activity we could do, but I think we'll save it and do it another time.
Okay.
Anyway, I have to say, I'm really excited for our photo shoot to come out.
It's going to be amazing.
It was so fun.
And I know we're going to have more photos than the ones we're going to share.
Mm-hmm.
Guess where we're going to release those extras?
Patreon!
Also, I had so much fun doing this holiday special that I think we should do more holiday specials.
Yes. I agree. 100% agree.
And so I think something that we should tell people now so they can start planning is that Thanksgiving is coming up next month. And after that is Christmas. And we're going to celebrate both of those things, especially with our Patreon subscribers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because everybody who is a Patreon subscriber, no matter how much money they subscribe for, we're going to send them a Christmas gift.
Yay.
Like a good one. Like, I was thinking, I won't say it out loud, but I'll show you a picture. Something like this. Right?
I want one of those.
Yeah, okay, so that's what I want. That's what I want to
Yeah,
give everybody
that's
for
great.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So
you
the
guys
way-
are so lucky.
The way it's going to work, though, is Patreon, if, like, I signed up right now, it wouldn't, like, go into effect until the 1st of the next month. So for anyone who is already or is going to be a Patreon subscriber by the end of November, so before December 1st, we are going to express our Thanksgiving by giving them a Christmas gift.
Oh, I like that.
Love
next
it. Love it, love it, love
And
it.
so we'll have to order it to get it out in time. We'll have to order it
now.
On the 1st of December too. So if we'll remind you later in November, but if you like this holiday, guess what? We like
Mores are
celebrating all of them.
coming.
Yep.
I want to thank you, Lauren. And thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
For a really fun holiday special.
We want
really
to
fun.
thank you and thank you, Ashley,
Thank you,
for a
Lauren.
very, very fun holiday special.
I also definitely want to thank Annie, Andy, Stu, and Candace for telling us their stories.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone who wrote into our Instagram, and Rachel and Courtney who let us read their stories.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thanks for being part of the show.
And a special thank you to our Patreon subscribers.
Absolutely.
Thank you for making this work.
Can I do a thank you?
Yeah.
I would like to thank my husband who,
Aw.
you will find out why I'm thanking him, but he was a part of this behind
That's
the
true.
scenes.
Yeah.
And we have some interesting things to announce over the next week too. This end of the year is so much has
A
happened.
lot's going
It's a
on.
lot.
And if we got anything wrong, if you want to weigh in with any stories, or if you just want to say hi, you can always write into us at drunkmormonpodcast@gmail.com.
We love hearing from you.
It's true.
We really do. Anytime someone says something nice, we always share it so everyone can read it. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at drunkmormonpod. Instagram is the best place to follow if you want to see our pictures on Halloween that we're gonna so good. So pay attention to our Instagram story on Halloween.
So follow before Halloween.
And then if you want to be among our privileged Patreon subscribers, you can always go to patreon.com/drunkmormonpodcast. You can't search for it because we have no filter, and
true.
they deemed it adult content. Rightfully so. And feel free to leave us a review on iTunes, write us a review. And until next time, I'm David John Banks.
I'm Lauren Sackwich.
And I'm Ashley Bacchini.
And now we bid unto all
Farewell.